You might feel like, oh, you don't really live in United States, so this whole issue is irrelevant for you. You might be taught that minding your own business is a virtue, or you might feel like I am not white myself, so I cannot be racist. But you need to realize that you don't need to be white to have those privileges that Black people don't have. Hi everyone, my name is Angie and welcome back. When you click on the thumbnail, I think you more or less already know what this video is about. I have a feeling that this content is not as popular as clothing haul or makeup tutorial, but I don't really care. I feel like I need to say something about this issue and I encourage you to do the same. I think it's fair to say that 2020 really sucks so far. You and I and pretty much everyone on the planet stuck at home for several months already, and it seems like this is not worse enough. What happened in the past week in the United States is absolutely crazy. It all started with the death of an African American man called George Floyd. If you do not live in the United States, or if you have not been following the news, let me just sum it up really quick for you. On May 25th, Minneapolis police officer arrested a 46-year-old Black man called George Floyd. They received a 911 phone call from a local deli shop employee accusing George for using fake $20 bills to buy cigarettes. George was restrained by two police officers, and one of them placed his knee on George's neck for the entire 8 minutes and 46 seconds. George said, "I cannot breathe," so many times, and he was pleading for his life and begging. But the white officer did not do anything. Once he removed his knee, George wasn't responding anymore. And then he was soon sent to a local hospital and pronounced dead in an hour later. This white officer is now being charged murder, but the incident triggered protests all over the United States. It started with a peaceful marching, but then soon escalated to looting. The protesters attacked the police, they hammered the shop, they set the road and the infrastructure on fire. They gathered outside of the White House and demand justice for George Floyd. So this is pretty much the story. And I know this is definitely horrible, and the incident has been happened so many times across the globe. I just feel like we let the history happen again and again, and we never really learn from it. Over the night, there are a lot of influencers using their platform to educate their followers about what is racism, about what is white privilege. And you might think, yes, we protested, yes, we marched, we sent posts on social media, and we demanded justice. But then what? Will the system actually change for the better? That I can't say anything for sure, but one thing I know is that if we don't do anything, if we don't demand justice, justice might never come. When the Black Lives Matter movement started on social media, I also see voices out there saying that when other minorities are being mistreated, there aren't this many people who stand out and fight for them. This might be true, and I do see where this opinion coming from. You might feel like because when you were experiencing xenophobia and racism and there weren't many people stand out for you, now you're not obligated to support them. You might feel like, yes, you don't live in the United States, so why this matters to you? You might also be taught that minding your own business is a virtue, or you probably think that, hey, I'm not white, so how can I be racist? But you do need to realize that you don't need to be white to have those privileges that Black people don't have. I know that people keep saying that Asians are being mistreated as well, and that is true, but at least you and I, we never need to fear for our life when we are jogging outside, when we are buying cigarettes at a convenience shop. I will openly admit that at some point in life, I was probably also unconsciously biased just because I didn't really know the better. But I've been educating myself on this matter, and so could you. I know that we might never understand what the Black community is going through, but at least we can be kind as human beings. Let us take a moment and talk about looting as well, shall we? Certainly, there are people on the internet condemning the violence behavior, but in my opinion, this criticism really comes from the fear of losing social order. Social order and social contracts are really important for maintaining social harmony, but please remember that social order is for everyone, for black, for white, for all the groups, and also United States government. For you, as a law-abiding individual, certainly you will think those rioters, they break the law, right? But if you switch your angle, for the black community, the United States government did not fulfill their promise to protect all groups. The system has failed them for so many years. So why should they still obey social orders, like you and I? Please don't get me wrong, I'm not trying to encourage any sort of looting, especially if the intention is not for supporting the black community, rather for personal angers. I guess my point is just trying to help you understand looting from a different point of view. And till this point, President Trump hasn't really done anything but sending out really racist comments on Twitter. He was saying that if those protesters come anywhere close to the White House, they will be greeted by the most vicious dog and the most ominous weapon. To make a reference on the most vicious dog, this is actually a subtle reminder to African American about the segregationists who let the dog on women, children, and innocent people in his house back in the days. Trump also sent other racially charged tweets. If you're interested, you can just simply Google it. Ironically, Trump was cheering on those Hong Kong protesters several months ago. He said that those people were brave. They were fighting for democracy. They were fighting for their freedom. He was also criticized Chinese government for threatening to use military against those protesters. But now, the same government, the same people who supported the Hong Kong rioter, now calling the USA rioter thug. So let's just pause here and think about the image for a second. What a double standard and absolute hypocrisy. But anyway, let's get back to the topic. I think racial discrimination against black community is everywhere, not just in the United States. As a Chinese who've been living in China for a lot of years, I could say that the racism against black community definitely is very severe in China as well. It might not be the same kind of way in United States, but it is just still racism, but in a different kind of form. That's it. So I urge you, it doesn't really matter who you are, what kind of community you belong to, and what skin color you are, to stand up right now and fight for the black community. I know it seems like it doesn't really work at the moment, but trust me, we're fighting for ourselves as well. I have gathered enough information on my own research and I put in the description below, and let's just do something about it. You can choose to educate yourself, you can choose to watch a movie about history, you can donate, you can march and protest, you can sign petition, but let's just do something. And in the end, I want to end this video by quoting what I see on the social media. I understand that I might never understand. However, I stand.